Hey everyone, how's it going? So I've got a tutorial video today. I'm in the process of making a salmon ladder. The channel that I have that I'm posting this on is still pretty new, kind of figuring out still what I want to have on there. I've got some Ninja Warrior highlights right now. Gonna probably put some commentary, but I'm doing a salmon ladder. I just got a house and I wanted to put a salmon ladder up, so I thought I might as well go ahead and video log my progress and how I'm doing it. So if you're looking to build a salmon ladder, it might be helpful to you. So I'm pretty much it's just a grab bag of different stuff that I found on the internet, different videos, and I'll have a bunch of links in the description as far as where I got my ideas from, because most of the ideas, if not all the ideas, are not my own. So but anyways, what I'm going to be doing is I'll show you some of the supplies that I've got right now. So most of the variations of the salmon ladder involve 4x4. Some of them you've got is a little bit different, but basically I'm going to be putting these 4x4s in the ground, 4 feet into the ground, and then concreting them in. And then I'm going to have my rungs starting at 6 foot. I'm 6 feet tall, or 6'1", so I'm going to be having my rungs start at 6 foot. I might add some lower ones later for the kiddos and stuff, and then they are going up every foot. So I'll go a little more in depth as far as the design in just a second, but there's a whole bunch of different salmon ladders out there. Pretty much if you go to a gym or if you go to somebody's house, everybody builds it a little bit differently. You kind of need to cater it to you specifically. One design that might work great for somebody might not work for somebody else. So the design that I have is catered specific to me, my needs. I'm 6'1" and about 200 pounds. So some of the other salmon ladders out there, a lot of them use wooden rungs. Those are known to break over time, just with the stress of having the bar hit them, over and over again. I've seen people use screw lags and put those in there, and I've actually used those before at my local Ninja gym, and they ended up bending. We had to put some really, really thick ones in there that are bigger than my finger, because they kept on bending as well, just because I'm a heavier guy. I've seen people just put some metal spikes in a salmon ladder before, and they were only maybe 150 pounds or something like that, and it worked fine for them. For me, I needed something a little more durable. So as far as the construction goes, like I said, I've got the 4x4s that I'm using, and as far as my so it's going to be in the ground 4 feet, and then starting at 6 feet I've got where my rungs are going to start. And as far as the angle that the rungs are going to be at, it ranges, but pretty much between 30 and 35 degrees is usually about right. Some people do it a little bit higher, even to 45 degrees. So some of the people that have actually been on American Ninja Warrior say that 35 degrees, that feels about right. So I've got mine set a little over 30 degrees. So I've got just my line here that marks my, this right here, and then up another foot there. And I'm going to have, I think, 4 rungs, or 4 or 5 rungs, I forget, up. And then this is the 30-degree angle. So that's where my rung is going to be at, and I'm going to have 2 screw lags, 3/8" screw lags, that are going to be holding it together. And like I said, I'm not going to be using wooden posts because it's not sturdy enough for me. I know it would end up breaking. So what I did is I just went down to Lowe's and I got one of these. I think it was a 6 foot long tube or pole, whatever you want to call it, and it's welded steel, and it's a 1 inch by 1 inch, and I'm not sure what the depth is. I don't know if it says on here. I've already cut a few of them out. Let's see if it has the depth. Yeah, I don't see it on there. Anyways, but you can just kind of see. I mean, it's fairly thick enough that it should definitely hold my weight. Carson Boyles, he's been on the show quite a few times, and this was a style that he did, and he said that he really liked this. It was more durable than the wooden pegs, so that's what I decided to go with. I've already cut a few of them out. I don't have a ton of real fancy tools. I'm just using a good old hacksaw. I got these cut out in about 10 minutes. It doesn't really take that long. If it just takes a little bit of elbow grease. You're not going to have the cleanest cuts. I'm getting a little bit better as I go along. The first ones that I cut were kind of crappy looking, but anyways, that's going to work fine for me. I'm only doing the pointed end on the end that's going to be going to the board so that it's somewhat flush. I don't want to create like a spike to impale myself on. So I'm just going to leave it flat on this side so that it's not real sharp, and I'm going to sand it down to get some of those burrs and stuff off from the hacksaw. But it's basically just going to It was intended for it to sit flush, but as you can see, my sawing isn't perfect, but that's okay. I don't mind for it to stick out just a little bit. But that's basically what it's going to look like. So, you know, it should, I mean, with this being steel and it's going to be held in by two pretty thick screw lags, it should hold pretty well. So ignore the second 4x4 there, but that's basically what it's going to look like. So it's going to come out about 3 inches, I think 3 inches on the top and about 3.5 inches on the bottom is how far it sticks out, which should be about right. And as far as the bar goes, there's a lot of different options out there. Again, you're gonna do what works best for you. Some people use a wooden dowel. If you're really light, that would be perfectly fine. Again, at 200 pounds, I would break that thing. It wouldn't last me any time, and I don't want to get, you know, I don't want to have a wooden dowel break in my hands and potentially get splinters and all that kind of stuff. I've seen some people that recommend like a black iron tube you can find in like a plumbing section. Those are okay. They're heavier, but they're really sturdy. You'll typically probably want to go with a little bit of a smaller like diameter, because if you get like an inch and a quarter one of iron, it's going to be really heavy. It might not be bad for training because you'll get used to, it's kind of like training with a weight vest on, but what I went with is aluminum. Again, a lot of these ideas I took from Carson Voiles. He's not the only one, but he had a lot of good stuff to say in his video, and I'll definitely link it below. He's got a lot more experience and wisdom than I do in this. But he used aluminum bar. I think that he had gotten his, I think he said from like discountsteel.com or something like that. But I'm impatient, so I went to the hardware store and got what I could find. And I actually ended up getting, I've seen a couple other people do this as well. This is just a like a chain link fence aluminum post. So that's what this is, and I've already cut it. So it was 10 foot with the little spot here. It was about 10.5 feet, but about 10.5 feet, and the bar length is 6 foot. So that's what I did it, and I think it's going to be, I think about 52 inches in between the two 4x4s. So I'll come back and update that once I actually start installing it and putting it in. But I think that that's going to be about and that'll leave about 6 inches on either side for the pole, if I'm remembering correctly. But so I've already gotten this, and if you get like, there's a lot of places online that sell custom aluminum tubes. You can get the diameter you want. I think this is 1.25 inches, and then you can get the inner diameter, whatever you want as well, and you can get one that's a little thicker than this, which would be good. All right, you'll have to excuse if this video is a little jumpy. I'm just going to be picking this up every step of the way as I finish things. So these are all the rungs that I cut out. They're fairly even. I mean, I cut them out by hand, you know, with a hacksaw, like I said earlier, so they're not perfect. I've got 9 of them because, like I was saying, I need to get one more because the 6 foot one I had wasn't long enough. I don't know if I mentioned before, but they're going to be sticking out of the 4x4s 3 inches. So it's about 4 inches. About 4.5 inches diagonally, the way that they're going to sit on the, so the way that they're going to sit on here diagonally is going to be about 4.5 inches, and then they're going to stick out about 3 inches. So they're like 3.5 inches for the spikes. That can be tweaked, you know, based if you feel like you need something a little bit longer. So they are 7.5 inches on the short side and about 8 inches on the long side. So, and right now I'm just, I'm measured just kind of eyeball where it looked like the lag screws needed to be. I kind of wanted them about in the middle. So I've got them placed 1.5 inches from the one side of the board and then 1.5 inches in from the other side. So that's the spacing. And then I'm just gonna draw a line so that I can get it even on all of them. And then after I drill the holes in these, I'll use that to mark the spacing on the boards and drill the holes in the same spot. And I'm gonna get a I've got a belt grinder I'm going to try to use. Honestly, I don't know if a belt grinder can be used for metal or not, so I got to look that up. But anyways, I'm going to file these down so they're not quite so sharp. They've got a lot of burrs and sharp points from whenever I cut them out. So anyways, I'll do that, and then I'll be right back. So a little update. To you it'll be instant, but for me it's been a few days. But right now what I'm working on, so I've got the holes drilled in all these. What I did is I used one of these smaller bits. I think I did I think I used 1/16 or maybe 5/64. But I did a pilot hole in all these where I wanted the holes, and then I got the these are 3/8 inch lag bolts. So I got a 3/8 inch bit for these, because it needs to fit through here. I'm not going to be screwing it into here, so I did 3/8 inch holes in these. Tried to make it pretty even across, but they're not completely even. Like you can tell, some of them, especially on the backside, I think some of them are a little bit off center of these holes. So what I did, I'm getting ready to attach them to the wood, and I'm drilling all the holes. I actually numbered these 0 to 8. I'm going to have one more, but I've only got 9 of these right now. And then I marked the rung holes here as well, 0, 1, 2, 3, etc. Because I want to make sure that the holes lined up, because they're not all exactly even. So I just lined this up like so, and then I drilled my hole through here, and only this one is going to match those holes exactly. So I marked this 0 so I can match these two up whenever I attach them. As far as the hole here, you don't want to make this 3/8 inch for a 3/8 bolt, because then this isn't going to attach. Like on this one, it goes straight through. That's what you want with this. You don't want that with the wood, because it can pull out. So you need to have it smaller. I just went down 1 5/16, so that way whenever this is in here, it's going to have to actually screw in there, and then that gives the teeth something to grab onto, so it doesn't just pull right out. I said teeth, the threads on this. So anyways, now that I've got these holes drilled, I'm going to go ahead and screw all of these in, and then I'll have these rungs. I'm going to do the same thing to that board over there. I've already got my holes dug in the backyard. I'll show that here in a second. And they need to be about 4 feet deep. I think mine are just a few inches short of that, but they need to be 4 feet and level and everything, and then I'm going to have to cement those in and stuff. So I'll probably update you once I've got that done. All right, so a little update. I've got the posts in the holes. I've got my concrete ready to pour. I've got my my pole level. A couple of things that I messed up on, I'll share with you, so that way when you build yours, hopefully you can avoid my mistakes. So I made the first one, and I put all the rungs on there, no problem. Made the second one. The first time I did it, these posts I had going this way, so they were facing the wrong way. That would have made for a pretty challenging obstacle. So I had to take those off, and whenever I flipped it, you know, so where it was going this way, the holes didn't quite match up exactly, and there was a couple of holes that I had already drilled, and then there was these. I was afraid that with those holes being so close together that the rung would end up breaking the wood and get knocked free. So what I did is I flipped it, so that end that I had drawn the holes, I filled those holes in with some 3/8 inch dowels, and just to fill the holes, and I flipped it over, and that end is now on the ground. And then I just measured everything and did it all again. Only, as you can see, I did it wrong. I didn't think that it mattered which side I put it on, but it did, because as you can see, I wanted them both to be on the inside, but one of them's on the outside. I kind of weighed my options and decided, you know what, it might look a little goofy, but it'll still function just fine. I'll just move the posts a little closer together, which I did. However, whenever I attached the board at the top, which I just finished doing, apparently I didn't measure quite exact, and they're a little further apart than I wanted them to be. I wanted them to be about 55 inches. Following Carson Boyle's video, he said that 55 inches is about what the show is. He doesn't know exactly for sure, but it feels about right. Well, mine is between rung to rung is 61 inches, which is a little bit further, 7 inches or 6 inches further. It's not awful. I mean, I might end up getting a little bit of a longer pole. That way, you know, I've got a little bit more leeway on either side, since I don't have as much pole extending past the rungs now. But anyway, so those are pretty much the mistakes that I made. The only other thing is, if you can get somebody to help you with that board going across the top, I would suggest that. I didn't have any help, so I had to screw one side up and then hop up on a ladder and screw the other side up. My ladder's not very tall, so it was a little scary. But anyways, if you can have somebody help you, you could just do that on the ground, and then have one person lift one and one person lift the other, and put them in the ground at the same time. There's a lot of ways you could do it. If you had a taller ladder, it wouldn't be as bad either. So anyways, I'm about to concrete this in. I've just got 8 bags of 50 pounds each fast sitting concrete mix. I don't think that's going to be enough to completely fill the hole. It ended up being, once I put gravel in the bottom of it, it ended up being, I think, about 3.5 inches or 3.5 feet deep. So as far as the holes, you want to dig them about 4 feet. I think you want to do it like 25% of your post length. So I've got a 16-foot post, so you dig it about 4 feet deep. And then you want to, the holes will usually fill in with water. The last few inches, water will drain there. So you want to put concrete or sand or something like that about 6 inches in the bottom, so that way you don't have the bottom of your post just sitting in water all the time. So I put that in there, and then as you can see, like, I've got my 4-foot mark there. So it's about, I don't know, this side's a little further out of the ground than this side because there's a bit of a slope to the ground, so that side had to be put in a little deeper than this side. Anyways, it should be fine. It's close enough. Here you can see right here where I did my ended up with 2 sets of holes, and they were just too close together, I thought. So I ended up filling them in with little wooden dowels, and they go in under the ground a little bit. So anyways, I'm gonna concrete this, and I'm gonna let it set for about a day before I mess with it. This concrete takes about 30 minutes to set. I think it actually takes, or 30 minutes to set, and I think it takes around 48 hours, 24 to 48 hours before you can put weight on it. And then it takes, I think, a full month or so to completely cure, but from what I understand, you don't have to wait to use it for a month. So I'll probably update in a day or two and do a demo of the Salmon Ladder and see how it goes. One thing I forgot to mention, you probably saw the level there, but I forgot to mention the video. Do your best to get these rungs level. It's a little bit of a pain in the butt, but you know, use a combination of digging your hole deeper or putting in extra gravel on one side. But as you can see, my little bubble is pretty much smack dab in the middle. If your Salmon Ladder is not level, it's just gonna suck whenever you go to train on it. It's always gonna want to slide to one side or the other. So that's real important. Make sure that you level it before you concrete everything in. Once you concrete it, you want to level it as well to make sure that vertically it's level, you know, this way as well as that way. So once you actually pour the concrete, that's when you check on that part. So all right, so I have got it all concreted up. The amount of concrete that I bought filled the holes up a little more than halfway, which I think will be fine. So add a little bit too much water on this side, but that's fine. It'll just take a little longer to set. But yeah, I'd say it filled it about 3/4 of the way full with concrete. So I'll just fill the rest up with dirt, and that should do just fine. And it is pretty dang close to perfectly level on all sides. So anyways, I'm gonna come back and check it out tomorrow, make sure everything's good. Then I'll fill it in with dirt, and she'll be ready to go. All right, so we have our finished product, and I didn't fill the holes up completely with concrete. I only got 8 bags, and that was enough to go about 3/4 of the way, maybe a little less. So I just filled in the rest with dirt. I think that that's going to be good enough. So my son's eager to hang on the bar. I've let the concrete sit for about 24 hours. It says 24 to 48 hours, and it should be good for load bearing. So we're gonna see. Hopefully it doesn't shift on me at all. I could wait another day, but I'm anxious to try it out. So we'll try it out and let you guys see how it does. I don't have the pole suspended just yet. I got a couple of tie cables, you know, dog tie cables that hold up to 60 pounds, or is good for dogs up to 60 pounds. You could get just regular like steel cables. I just picked these up, but that should be fine. So I'm gonna put that on the bar so that way it doesn't fall back and hit me. But I haven't done that yet, so it just won't fall. All right, seems to hold me just fine. Hey, one last thing. Bet you thought the video was over. If you thought that, you're wrong. So if you were thinking after seeing the last little snip of me trying out the Salmon Ladder for the first time, if you were thinking, dang, that looks really wobbly and unsafe, you'd be right. So I was on it, and I used it a couple times, and it was shaking a lot, and I was a little scared for my life. So I did some changes. So I bought some more 4x4s, and I gave it like a little triangle bracing with some mending plates, or steel plates, whatever you call them, to attach the two together. So I just cut those boards at about a 45-degree angle, and then I've got 4 of them, one on each side of each 4x4 of the Salmon Ladder, and it's significantly better now. So I'm about to test it out. One other thing that I did is whenever I originally built it, I attached the steel tubes, these things, I attached it to the 4x4 on the wrong side on one of the 4x4s. So I fixed that so that way they are both on the inside. That way it'll be a little bit closer to what I originally wanted, because originally I wanted them spaced about 55 inches apart, but because it was on the outside they're about 61 inches apart, so this will bring it 4 inches closer. So that'll be pretty close to what I originally wanted. That'll be 57 inches. So because it was extended that extra few inches, I don't know if you can tell from this, but my aluminum bar that I had actually did bend just a few times after using it. But I'm gonna go ahead and do a demo of this so you can see the difference in how much it shakes. All right, let's see how this thing goes. Ooh, it's a long way to fall if I miss this last one. Nice. All right, final update for you. Final update for real this time. So I had to make some changes on the Salmon Ladder. I've kind of learned some things throughout this process and went from a really simplistic build to a pretty sophisticated build overall, because I had to make changes. You saw the first one where it was really wobbly, didn't have any support. I added support to it. I ended up having to bring the rungs in closer together too, so I already did that once. On the original one, if you remember, I actually had one of the rungs on the inside of the 4x4 and one of them on the outside of the 4x4. I still got the holes there where I had it at. So I moved it to the inside so that it was a little bit closer. That put it at like 57 inches apart, I believe. I believe the show is around 55 inches from what I've heard. That's what I was wanting to do. Now, even with it being at 55 inches, or 57 inches, every bar that I got, I was bending. I tried a 1 1/4 inch galvanized pipe. I tried a different, thicker, they're hollow, so I tried a different, thicker one that had a thicker inner diameter, or thicker wall, whatever you want to call it. And that didn't work. I tried a solid aluminum bar. Now it was 3/4 of an inch because I thought aluminum's pretty tough and it's solid, so I thought that would do good. But that was even weaker than what the other ones were. I tried a 3/4 inch diameter. Ooh, sorry, I just fell off my tripod. Cut. All right, I tried a 3/4 inch diameter galvanized pipe. This one had an even thicker wall than the other ones I used, but it bent as well, like right away. So what I ended up doing, the only way that I was able to get them to not bend is to put one of the pipes inside one of the other pipes. And actually I've got this one right here, I still have set up that. I've actually got 3 pipes in, but yeah, these two this is the one in the middle, in the center, that is from fencing. It's used for fencing. And then the other one is a conduit pipe. So that was the only combination that I was able to get for it not to bend. And it was heavy that way. You know, your bar was twice as heavy that way and I didn't like it. So what I ended up doing is I actually went and got 2 more 4x4s, and you can see with some mending plates, I attached them to the other 4x4s, and then I put the rungs on that. In addition to that, I put 4x4s to support, because what was happening is the screw lags that are holding these into the wood, those were fine, they weren't bending, but the wood itself was starting to warp, and the hole that the screw lags in was getting wider and wider, so that these things were starting to move around. So what I did is I put 2x4s in between them all the way up, and as you can see, there's quite a bit of downward torque right here. So this one's already starting to split, so these will have to be changed out every once in a while, but that's fine. That's not a big deal to change those out. So I might get a better system to where I don't just screw them in. I might get some screw lags. That way I can reuse the same holes in the 4x4, so those last longer. But anyways, with this new build, it feels very solid. You know, of course, I added the supports on the bottom. I think I already showed that off. Now, here's the thing. If you are a smaller Ninja, I've probably said this 2 or 3 times already, if you're a smaller Ninja, it's not that important that you go through the lengths that I did. You can probably get away with just doing a bare minimum build. If you're 160, 170 pounds or less, you know, that's probably fine. Me, I think I've already said before, I'm over 200 pounds, I'm 6'1", I'm a big guy, and it just wasn't cutting it. Another thing that you might want to be able to do, if you do want to have it more similar to the show, so the length in between the rungs now for mine, I think, is 49 inches, so it's just over 4 feet. If you want to have it closer to 5 feet like the show is, what you can do is just get a bigger pipe. I mean, I messaged Jody Avila. I think that's how you say his name. He's the big dog ninja. I think he's like 6'6" or something. He's huge, and he's about 225 pounds or something, I think. He's a big guy. He's bigger than I am. And I messaged him on Instagram, and he was kind enough to message me back. And he said what he uses is an 1.5 bar minimum diameter. So that's 1/4 inch bigger than any of the ones that I tried. So if you go that route, then you might be able to get away with having it that wide. For me, having it more narrow was better. And one thing I've noticed too, just for training, I mean, if you're wanting to train to the show, it's good to do it like the show, but it is much easier when it's closer. I've noticed that it requires a lot less precision. You know, the closer that you are together to those rungs, it requires less precision. So training on it is easier. So that might be a negative thing if you're wanting to compete on the show, because then you go on the show and it might be a little more difficult than the one that you've trained on if you only have it at 48 or 49 inches. But anyways, for me, this works good. I'm gonna demo it again real quick. You can kind of compare it to the original footage that I had. It holds up a lot better. So I'm gonna do a quick demo of this. There you have it. Holds up really well now. Feels really solid, feels really good. I'm really happy with the way that it turned out. It took a lot more time and materials than I had anticipated using, but anyways, so I hope this video helped out some of you guys. If you're looking to build a salmon ladder, there's some other really good videos out there too. Just look around at all the stuff that there is available and figure out, you know, how you want to build the one that's going to suit your particular needs. So anyways, thanks for checking out the video. Have a good one.